Today we're talking about the right to refuse. And sometimes refusal to go along with everyone else forces a person to choose between what they believe is right and the law of the land. This is the dilemma faced by conscientious objectors who refuse to fight when their country calls them. In Israel, all citizens, men and women, are obliged at the age of 18 to serve in the military. But a group calling themselves the Shministim, a Hebrew term for 12th graders, have refused, and one of them is 19-year-old Omer Goldman. Omer's father was the deputy head of Mossad, the Israeli intelligence service, and all her life she assumed that she would do her military service just like her older sister and, in fact, most of her family and peers. But when she was called up last year to report for duty, she refused, and she was sent to jail twice. Omer spoke with my colleague, Dave McGuire.
When I was growing up, I believed in war heroes and dying for a piece of land and everything for my brothers and sisters here, the Jewish community in Israel. I wanted to be a soldier until I was like 17 or something. I was sure that that's okay, but when I was really small, I always cared about human rights, and my dream when I was like 8 was to be at Amnesty International and all those things. But I only awoke when I was about 16, 17, that all of those things I've been told in the education system and in my family and everywhere, you know, my friends, and it's everywhere in Israel. So maybe I should double check them. Maybe not everything is as I thought it was.
At what moment did you decide that you weren't going to do military service? Because everyone in Israel does. When did you decide, no, this isn't for me?
I was in the West Bank in a village called Shufa. I went there with a group called Combatters for Peace, which are ex-IDF soldiers and ex-Fatah people that decide to combat together for peace and not each other. And I went with them to this village in the West Bank. The Israeli army just put a checkpoint in the middle of the village for no reason, just to make it difficult for the people to cross, and we wanted to take it off. So they start shooting at us like crazy, and I didn't understand, like, is this the army all of my life I've been told is protecting me, now shooting at me? My whole idea of what they are is just vanished in like a couple of days.
Was it still a hard decision to refuse to join?
Of course it's hard, because in Israel, when you're born, you're a soldier to be, and your brothers and your sisters are soldiers, and your parents and your grandparents. It's not something that's far away from you. It's your best friends, and it's your ex-boyfriend. I don't know, it's like, and when you challenge them, and when you tell them in the face and in public, like I did, that you contempt them for doing that, for executing war crimes every day, they attack you personally. Although you don't do it, I didn't do it personally, you know. My opinions and my views are against using violence, not against my best friend who's, you know, just making coffee for this commander.
So how did you actually refuse? How did you say no?
You have a date for recruitment. Mine was in September, and I showed with a demo of like 100 people supporting me. I got in and I refused to recruit. So they took me to this judge, and before he judged me, he talked to me and he said, like, I believe you can change the system from the inside, and, you know, things like that. You can stand in a checkpoint and give little children toffee. And I said that it doesn't matter if I give them toffee or not. I'm not supposed to be there, because in the end I'm not letting them pass. And then I told him, you know, don't talk to me about changing the system from inside, because you're a very important general and you're still doing something against your will. So he got angry and sentenced me to the longest time of, you know, from our group.
It sounds pretty courageous. Did your family know you were going to refuse?
Yeah. My mom supported me all along. Like, she knew my opinions, and I started going like 2 times or 3 times a week to the West Bank and demo there. They knew I was doing political work already, and my father, It took me a long time to tell him, but, it's my life. And he was very angry. It's very different from the path he chose. It is very hard for him, still.
Did you know that you were risking your relationship with your father when you made this decision to refuse to enlist?
I knew it, but I thought if I can overcome him being a militant, army man, so he can overcome me being a pacifist and a refuser. I knew I have to go with my heart because I'm going to live with myself, I didn't want to regret for the rest of my life being a part of a system that is so wrong and so illegal and doing awful things.
You faced some consequences for this decision, though. You've been in jail twice. What was it like?
It's one of the most meaningful periods of my life because you're alone, and when you're in a bad condition, because in jail you are in a bad condition, so everything, every issue you have is very strong, and it comes out.
So your decision has gotten a lot of attention from the media in Israel and around the world. Your dad's involved in the Israeli intelligence agencies, and you've been in jail twice. Has this made you a target for people who are strongly opposed to your refusal?
Of course, I even got attacked on live TV a week ago, but it was scary. I was hiding behind the cameraman. But you have to understand that this is something I deal with every day, and from a strange man, it's not that painful. Like from your family and from your friends, that's the hardest thing. I can tell you I have close relationships that were disconnected after my public refusal. Not from my side, from other people's side, because they're entitled to talk about their army story and boot camp story, and I'm not entitled to say anything about jail because, my decision is wrong.
Are you on speaking terms with your father now?
No, actually not.
If you could explain to him what you're doing and why you're doing it, what would you say?
I would say, each of us is fighting for his beliefs. I chose the non-violent way. You chose the violent way. It's very hard for me to answer that to myself. So, in public is even harder. I wish we can get better, but I'm not sure it will happen, so I'm not counting on it. I'm quite strong and I can get along by myself, so it's okay.
Israeli conscientious objector Omer Goldman talking with Dave McGuire.